2024. Deputy Clerk Williamson, call the roll. Oh, I'm sorry, we gotta say the pledge first. Thank you very much.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Deputy Clerk Williamson, call the roll.
Trustee Brown. Trustee Clark. Trustee Lynch. Trustee Roll. Trustee Taylor. Trustee Williams.
Okay, would somebody like to make a motion for the approval of the regular board meeting minutes of February 6, 2024? Trustee Clark, do we have a second?
Second.
Trustee Taylor, any questions or corrections? Deputy Clerk Williamson, call the roll.
Trustee Williams.
Present.
Trustee Taylor. Trustee Roll. Trustee Lynch.
Yes.
Trustee Clark.
Yes.
Trustee Brown.
Treasury report, Treasurer Talita Hart.
Good evening, everyone. Bills payable February 15, 2024, corporate $257,171. Sewer and water, excuse me, $23,009. Glenwood golf course, $6,167.59. Total ball funds, $286,239.39.
Somebody like to make a motion to approve the bills payable?
So moved.
Trustee Williams, have a second. Trustee Taylor, any questions? Deputy Clerk Williamson, call the roll.
Trustee Brown.
Yes.
Trustee Clark.
Yes.
Trustee Lynch.
Yes.
Trustee Roll.
Yes.
Trustee Taylor.
Yes.
Trustee Williams.
Aye.
Payroll.
Payroll as of the date February 9, 2024, corporate $141,296. Sewer and water $19,985.05. Paid on call $9,638.72. Elected position $961.54. Glenwood golf course $11,919.71. Vendor checks $2,634. Overtime police, excuse me, $7,899.69. Reimbursement for $810.70 of the overtime police. Sewer and water, $3,684.78. Public overtime, $1,184.11. The economic development stipend is $461.52. That's a total payroll for $199,649.65.
Somebody like to make a motion to approve the payroll? Trustee Taylor, for a second. Trustee Clark, any questions? Deputy Clerk Williamson, call the roll.
Trustee Brown.
Yes.
Trustee Clark.
Yes.
Trustee Lynch. Trustee Roll.
Yes.
Trustee Taylor.
Yes.
Trustee Williams.
Since we've got a fantastic crowd here tonight, I want to put a little advertisement in. February 24th, we're going to celebrate Black History Month at the Underground Railroad site over by Gates. So hopefully everybody can come out and do that. One thing that we did make the error on is we did say that our clerk, Ernestine Dobbins, was the first African-American clerk, but it actually was Carmen Hopkins. So Ms. Dobbins is actually the first woman African-American clerk in Glenwood. So we're honoring her and several other people. So meeting's now open to the public for anything that you want to come up and say. All you gotta do is write your name and address down, and you can address the board. Very nice brochure you put together.
Good evening.
Yep,
Good evening.
that was really nice.
Good evening, everyone. Deborah Birmingham, this makes for
Suzanne, because it wasn't on last time I spoke. Okay.
Deborah Birmingham, 850 East 193rd Place. First, I say good evening. On February 13th, I stood before you and I expressed my concern that I named off about 15 villages and towns surrounding Glenwood that set aside time to recognize and to honor Black history. My village, Glenwood, did not. Therefore, I took it upon myself to create my own newsletter to acknowledge those in Black history. By the time I completed my newsletter, I was glad to see that the village decided to have something for Black History Month. So I'm glad to see that. My next comment. This week, we lost Mrs. Juanita Freeman. Mrs. Juanita Freeman and her husband, Mr. Alvin Freeman. Mr. Freeman was a trustee here. They loved Glenwood. They did everything they could to help Glenwood. Mrs. Freeman would work from the beautification committee, the election polls. She would do anything she could to help to keep our community beautiful and to keep people looking out for one another. We could all disagree, but when it came time to pulling together, Mrs. Freeman was that perfect example of what Glenwood is all about. So I just hope, as many of us knew Mrs. Freeman, Mr. Freeman, that we will keep the family in our thoughts and prayers, and if we can do nothing else, live up to the motto of Mrs. Freeman. She loved the community. She could disagree with one another, but we had the community's interest at heart. And as you make decisions in terms of what you're going to do going forward for our village, let's just think, is it good for all of the residents? Are we looking out for our neighbors? Are we doing something that's going to help make us go forward? Let's keep those things in mind. So whatever you decide to do in terms of business, whomever gets contracts, whatever it may be, let's just think. We want our community to be a place that Mrs. Freeman, who served this community for 50 years, and she was bold, and she would tell you just what she thought, and then she said, baby, come on, let's get something to eat, because she still cared about you. So you all please keep the Freeman family in prayer, okay?
In fact, if we could have a moment of silence for Mrs. Freeman, for her good heart of the head, so silence. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Melinda Clark, 423 West Airport. I'm pleased to tell you I knew Mrs. Freeman. She was a citizen. She voted, and she encouraged others to vote. I think she would have been very disappointed to know that Glenwood didn't really vote this last time. And in honor of her, hopefully Glenwood will vote next time. She encouraged citizenship. She was a voter. She encouraged anyone that wanted to run. She talked to them, and she told the community what she liked about them and what she didn't. So, beautiful woman.
I agree 100%.
The other thing, Glenwood Baseball has started registration. From the kids here.
That's some potential candidates here. Perfect timing.
Yes. And we are starting to register children through the end of March. And the information is on the marquee. So anyone that wants to play baseball in Glenwood, we are registering kids from the age of 4 through 12. And so the telephone number is on the marquee as well. And we want to invite you to come and play baseball because we have a great time. Last year we had 5 teams. We had 3 teams of T-ball and a team of 7-8 and a team of 9-10. So come on out and play ball and support Glenwood baseball. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. 413 Worcester Avenue. I don't know if every citizen has received yet the postcards that are going out for taking a picture of our water pipes. I just would like to get a little more information on that. I know we've had several bursts in the community, so I'm just trying to understand that a little deeper.
Joe, do you want to take that? Or Jay will take it.
I'll take it. I was actually planning on bringing this up later on in the meeting. These did go out recently to everybody that has a house that was built prior to 1970. This is all a result of what happened in Flint, Michigan. There's a push through the entire United States to eliminate these lead service lines. Something like that doesn't happen again. The village of Glenwood is in charge of replacing their own service lines, but we got a grant to do this inventory that is due to the state of Illinois this year. So anybody in an older house would receive one of those postcards. You can use the link on the postcard to take a picture of your own water service. If you can't figure that out, if you don't know where it is, you can call the number on the postcard that will lead you to my office. If we could send someone out, you could call Public Works. Someone from Public Works can come out, or even someone from the fire department can come out and help you with this. If you can't figure it out on your own.
Okay,
You said postcards went out?
thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, you should have it in the mail.
But if you're not in an older house, predominantly in this area of Glenwood, you might not have gotten one.
Anybody else wishing to address the board? Okay. Oh, you got one more? Okay.
Connie Webster, down over the 839 Mount Court. I am so glad to see that after the last meeting that you decided to do something for the Black History Month. I'm disappointed in the way that it's been handled. I live, like I said, in the manor, on Manor Court, and I see the marquee. So I read the marquee last Friday, and I thought, oh, okay, well, that's really good. I mean, it's only 2 weeks planning. I think that, we should do better as far as planning. But we need to remember that this is Black History Month and not the summer or, so what are we gonna do if the weather is bad? I mean, how are you gonna handle that?
Yeah, we're gonna have some tents out there.
Some tents?
Yes. So it might be a little chilly, who knows, but we're gonna have some tents out there.
Okay. And I would just say, or just try and encourage, start now preparing for next year Black History
Yeah,
Month.
we're starting on our Juneteenth anniversary, celebration at Underground Road. So
You're
we're-
starting now for Juneteenth.
Correct.
Okay, we should start now for next year, so we don't have, Juneteenth in February. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, now we get get some dedications here. I want to ask Treasurer Hart to come up. Treasurer Hart.
Treasurer Hart was a trustee of the Village of Glenwood from 2021 to 2024. So we want to recognize her for her service from 2021 to 2024, and she's serving us as the treasurer now. So we want to thank you for your service. So we give her a round of applause. We'd like to Lions Peace Bowl contest. So Kathy, if you could come up, and Larry Williams, our trustee, past president of the Glenwood Lions, as was I.
Well, Kathy does all the heavy lifting on this, okay? I just appoint people. So I appoint the right person to do all of this. It's a great job, okay? And if there's any other lines in the room, could you please stand? Okay, I got the mayor. I got the best guy right there, James Summers. Okay, I was expecting someone else that was going to try to come out here tonight, but wait a minute. It's at 11 o'clock. Yeah. Well, we can't, the Lions and this town can't do anything without 11 o'clock. believe me, every time I need something done and I can't get it done, I call to the main office and ask for her. I'm not going to ask for anybody else over there in Oakbrook. But every time, she always comes through for us, and she send it to us, and she give us credit. Okay, I'm not sending money right away. Oh, it's great to have someone like that in. Okay, and then who else we got here? Oh, there's Birmingham. Yeah, that's it. It's Deborah Birmingham, and she is one of our great members of this town. She always helps out, and she gives us pretty good donations every time she gets an opportunity to, and we really appreciate it. We appreciate everything that she does for us. And then, one more person, two people I got to say something to. Okay, my pastor's here tonight, okay? And also, my lovely bride of the last 51 years.
Yay!
Yes, she is praise God, but I know how to follow rules. Okay, so with all of that, every year we have the Peace Poster contest for all the kids here, and the list seems to grow all the time. But when you got a chairperson as good as the one that we have, I'm not going to complain about the list growing. Matter of fact, I enjoy that the list is growing and more kids being involved. I did take a look through the list that she gave me, and I've seen that some of the kids have won this award before. So I think that they're real ringers, but I took a look and everybody was in the 8th grade this year, so they'll be graduating now. So you can tell the other people coming up, they stand a chance. Okay. So with all of that, I'd like to bring Kathy, our chairperson, that we're so proud of, and she does so much good work.
And to Mayor Gardner, also to this board, because the collaboration that we need to have for things like this are very important. Our kids are our resources. We talk about this all the time. Anything that we can do together or join is important. And the district supports fine arts, just like we support things with reading and math. Fine arts is very important in the district. It helps our kids relieve feelings, talk about, express themselves, and we have some really talented kids. So we need to acknowledge that, and we need to do that in a partnership. I really appreciate that. We're all the Lions, we do this every year, and I love the fact that the kids are so willingly wanting to participate. So that being said, I'm going to start with the runners-up. Is that okay? Alphabetical order. If you're here, you'll come up. You'll get the have certificates. And if we have your poster, if you didn't get your poster yet, I'm going to call you up, we'll give it to you, and I want you to say a word or two about why you drew what you drew. And the theme this year was Dare to Dream. Dare to Dream. Okay, so first of all, Zion.
The reason why I drew this is because most people don't get to graduate, and I am happy that I get to graduate 8th grade. And I drew people in the back to represent people that are proud of this girl to graduate, and I tried to make their heads peaceful colors.
They're also going to get a little monetary gift. Peyton Candiano. And that says it all. Kyla Cornell.
I do this because it helped me express myself with different expressions and expressing different nationalities and things that inspire me, and also showed peace and happiness.
Kayla Dalton. Okay, Kennedy Flowers.
I do this because it shows a girl who dreams about world peace.
Next we have Amani Griffin.
I do this because it's like showing equality that everybody is, no matter what.
Najee Huggins. Okay, Judith O'Hara. Judith. Okay. Valentine Lambert.
I do this because peace and love is a very important thing to have.
Courtney Wallace. Courtney Wallace. Okay. Christina Wilson. No. Okay. And now we are down to the district winner, Julius Holcomb. I want to say Julius, just so you know, Julius is, he's got this copy. The district winner had to go to the district, so we had to mail it out. And they don't return it once it goes there, so we did make a picture, at least so we could show you what vote for. That's allowed.
I drew this picture to represent relationships and peace. Like the little symbols That's God sharing food to the animals and this relationship right here.
And this is becoming a habit, because Julie, this is your second time, isn't it? Oh, I'm glad you did this.
So, I think we got pictures of them all. I just want to say thank you again, Mayor. I don't know if you want to say anything, but the few words are so deep. And if we could only as adults follow what the kids are thinking, it would be a better world, right?
Congratulations to all the winners. Did we get a picture of that with them? Okay. Congratulations, great work. And thanks to Kathy for all the work she does. I'm a Glenwood Lion myself, so it's an important project that she's taken the helm with. So thank you guys and congratulations.
If there's anybody, male or female, who's interested in becoming a Glenwood Lion,
Yes.
just let's see what I'm up to. Like I bring them back. Any volunteer.
Sign up tonight.
Yes. And I'll do a special party for you next month.
So we had a Christmas tree lighting ceremony and had both Brookwood Junior High and Glenwood Academy come out, their choirs come out and sing. So we want to recognize them for coming out. I want to have Nerd Holly come up here, the president of Glenwood Academy. Trustee Taylor and Trustee Roll were on the committee for the lighting. You want to say a few words first?
I just want to thank everyone for your support for our children and youth in Glenwood. And they're very excited, I can tell, for being here tonight. And again, thank you all, especially the students.
So we'll call out your name and then come up. And we got a little token, we got a $25 gift card for everybody that sang. So, so when you come up here, there we go. Miss Bennett, the choir director. She here? Oh. You were in the wrong stand.
Yeah.
Okay, Amaji Davis, come on up. He's not here.
He's playing basketball, and he had to choose.
And so we'll get the card here too. Michael Malone. Yeah, we're going to take a picture.
Wait, you're sorry.
Abraham Navarrete.
He's playing basketball.
I don't want to tell you guys. Actually, he's playing baseball. Joe Grace Hawkins. Joe Grace. Malaya Holmes. Ebony Little. Darrell Hawkins. Morocco McLean.
Yeah,
Like we should have done this at the gym. Jacob Booth. Jordan Brown. Envy Davis. Mr. Keelan Wright, the choir director. Okay, now for Brookwood Junior High.
Hold on, he's taking a picture.
Is Bennett come up, the choir director?
Yeah, but Bennett is.
You know what? Jade Gordon. Naraya Betts. Pharaoh Armstrong. Haley Rags. Jelia DeVito. Paige Cole. Okay, if we get a group picture.
You guys want to move in? We got it.
Tighten it up. One redo.
Thank you, everyone. I hope you're going to come back this year.
And Glenwood students, it's time to go back and do some homework.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Not those, that's what you're not.
Which side's my good side, Jim? Yeah. That's the side I showed you, or no, I showed you the eyeball. I might have to give you the eyeball. Maybe I'm not up.
And look at the cards to
Maybe I got
the
X-Nate.
Brookwood Junior High. Now we would like to make a presentation to the Glenwood Fire Department for a life-saving rescue. Chief Welch, if you'd come up.
Thank you. I want to turn my back on the board or back on the residents, but I'm not one to give recognition for everyday jobs, because that's what we're here both policemen and firemen, when something's going wrong, we're running in and you're running out. That's our job. But every once in a while, an event comes along that really brings us together and shows what we can do in teamwork. And tonight, I'm recognizing that effort. Because we had an incident, and I'll read the brief narrative which was written, and it gives some personal thoughts. At 3:48 p.m. on Friday, February 9th, which was about 10 days ago, we were dispatched to a motor vehicle accident with injuries on Route 394 northbound, north of Glenwood Lansing Road. Upon arriving, crews observed a single vehicle in the brush on the east side of the expressway with heavy damage. Bystanders indicated that the driver of the vehicle was ejected as the vehicle rolled over. The female driver was rapidly located approximately 160 feet to the northeast of the vehicle that was in the thick brush and mud. This young lady actually was catapulted that length and ended up in the mud on the edge of the creek, and in the creek. She was the only occupant of the vehicle that we could find at the time, but that also creates the issue of making sure no one is in there with a primary and secondary search. Personnel immediately began patient care, following ALS trauma protocol, while the rest of the crew worked together to quickly formulate and execute a plan to safely remove the patient from the elements to the ambulance while continuing this patient care. That may not seem monumental unless you know that this creek was about 95 feet down the ravine, off to the side of the road. So this was quite an effort by this crew that worked diligently to make this happen. Once in the ambulance, firefighter paramedic Stanky, firefighter paramedic Soroki continued care during transport to Advocate Christ Medical Center, while firefighter EMT Topham, I got that right, didn't I? Drove. Additional crew members on the scene, working tirelessly to establish patient care and navigate the terrain to move her to safety under the directions of Chief Welsh, were paramedic John Sloop, EMT engineer Charles Woods, firefighter Eric George, and cadet Heather Gorman. Everyone who responded to this incident on this day worked incredibly hard and showed the utmost professionalism when called to duty. Because of their action, the patient remains in critical but stable condition as of this afternoon, which you'll hear about in just a minute, and is expected to make a recovery. Successful outcomes to these and many other types of incidents depends greatly on the initial information gathered by our highly trained telecommunicators at ECOM Joint Dispatch Center. The tremendous efforts of telecommunicators Sherry Wright, Gabrielle Laheta, and Jordan Banks in pinpointing the location and circumstances at this crash allowed us to rapidly locate the patient and get care to her side and transport to the trauma center. I will read the recognition plaques and then I'll call these groups up to be recognized. One piece of this that I haven't mentioned yet is the patient's family is in the audience tonight, and they're hearing some of this for the first time. Her daughter, brother, I believe, and they may want to speak, and you can in just a minute. But these are the efforts that we need to recognize of our people when they go way far above and beyond. So, the plaques presented to the crew. This one particularly reads, for professionalism exhibited during the motor vehicle accident on I-34 north of Glenwood Lansing Road on February 9, 2024. A single vehicle rolled multiple times. The driver was ejected from the vehicle, landing 160 feet away. The patient was located in a muddy creek, removed from ailments by being treated at the scene, transported to the hospital, which was Christ Hospital, for further care. This was made possible thanks to the hard work, skill, exemplary effort that was displayed by this individual, firefighter paramedic Dylan Soroki. Firefighter paramedic Grace Stanky. EMT Cody Topham. Engineer EMT Charles Woods. Firefighter paramedic John Sloot, who also doubles as our EMS coordinator. Firefighter Eric George. It's probably safe to stop here and say that this is probably one of firefighter Eric George's first major crisis type incidents, and he performed exemplary. Because he got dragged right into the water with everybody else. And Cadet Heather Gorman. That was her first call, something of this nature. I think that one reason she handles this so well is her father's a captain on the Harvey Fire Department. He's with us here tonight. And as I said, this wouldn't have been possible without the great backup from our Joint Dispatch Center, and that's with telecommunicator Jordan Banks, telecommunicator Gabriela Lajeda, and telecommunicator Sherry Wright. With us today as well from one of our crew here, longtime firefighter, paramedics, and EMTs, as well as our Deputy Director at the Dispatch Center, Amanda Postma, and the newly appointed Operations Manager, Heidi Kraut. They do a tremendous job for us. A little personal note to this, after the incident, it so affected the crew who actually had hands-on patient care, they really were short on what the hell happened. And that's always the case. Single vehicle accident, the reports were there was some erratic driving, you just don't know. And when we followed up on it, we found the whole medical history that led us to the cause and reasons behind this. Those are things I can't share, but the family certainly can. So if anybody did want to say anything, you certainly have that opportunity if you like. They're good. Well, thank you. Thanks to all these people, and your dedication and professionalism is recognized. Mayor, thank you very much for what you guys do. It's very important. You get to see people when they're in the worst condition, and it's just a fantastic thing you did for this family. So let's give them another round of applause.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Okay, and I'd like to bring up Pastor Higginbottom, if he can come up. He has a proposal to build a recreational facility as an annexation to his church or a separate building, he'll tell us. And he wants us to participate in some of the funding. He's going to do most of the funding, or I should say, Calvary Baptist Church is going to do most of the funding, but he was looking to see if we would help out with it. We're not going to make a decision tonight. We're going to have a presentation, and then if we think we want to proceed with it, we'll have to have John draw an agreement and things along those lines. We won't vote on it tonight, but Pastor Higginbottom, the stage is yours.
Okay. Well, thank you, Mayor, and to your trustees and staff. We are just grateful to be here with the chair of our deacon, Horace Blue, chair of our trustee, Mary Granderson.
I see Deacon Blue back there. How's it going?
And as you can see, we are in preliminary stages of building a much-needed family life center here in Glenwood on the property of 801 East Glenwood Diner Road. I don't know if there's a public gym in Glenwood right now. This gym seeks to serve several generations. So not just for youth and young adults, but we plan on putting in a full walking track that will be accessible, especially to our seniors that won't have to travel to South Holland to get on the walking track there, but will be able to come right to Glenwood Dyer Road to walk in the mornings. Several classrooms, along with a commercial kitchen, and of course the basketball court. And so we're excited. We are in the beginning stages of planning, and we're hoping that this would not only serve our congregation, but the entire community of Glenwood.
So would this be this is going to be to the west of the church, right?
Yes.
Yes. Questions?
Absolutely.
So, would all the residents of Glenwood be able to use this? Would this be open to the public, or how is the usage?
So, yes, absolutely. We certainly want to invite the community in to share in this space. And of course, we have to work out the logistics of that, but absolutely we want to share this with the community.
So we would prepare like an intergovernmental agreement like we have with South Holland for their facility. We can get residential rates there, and then they can get residential rates at Glenwood. So it'd be something like that, an intergovernmental agreement or contract. What would be? Okay.
So with the intergovernmental interest, what would be the village responsibility? What should be the village responsibility?
Well, we'll have to see how it works out, but the question's going to be who's going to maintain it, who's going to provide staffing, who's going to provide equipment, who's going to provide supervision, security, all those types of things, and what the details will be for residents to use it, and what cost, if any, some kind of obligations as to various times, what the residents. So there's a lot of details.
Yeah, I would imagine. So, Pastor, what's the estimated cost?
We are in the, we're still working through the cost analysis of this and still meeting with architecture firms and interviewing contractors at this point.
So, there's no real ask of what this time?
No, what we're doing at this time is aligning ourselves with good partners and those who could come alongside and add whatever investment that they can into this project. Calvary, this project is not during my tenure, but it predates me. Calvary started this long before I got here. I've only been at Calvary since the first Sunday in June, but this was launched and envisioned under another administration, and I just felt it right to carry out the vision that had already been in place. Of course, because of the pandemic, it put pause on this project, and now that we are back open and Calvary is flourishing and things are great, it's just time now to move forward with it.
Mayor, was this ever presented to the board?
No. This is the first time.
We've never asked the first.
No.
And so what's the construction timeline?
Certainly, if you ask me, I'm ready.
There's over the shovel in the ground.
So we really had, this is just for administration purposes.
Yes, so you're in the ground floor. That's right.
Well, I know that, so next step would be creating some type of agreement, but it would be at this point for the village to engage in like to see the agreement. There's really not enough.
Correct. So this was just really for discussion.
I have a question.
Yes.
So you say it's a gym? Outside?
We're using the term Family Life Center.
Family, okay, so Family Life Center. Outside track,
Indoor track. Indoor walking track.
indoor track.
Yes.
Industrial kitchen,
Correct.
classrooms.
6, yes.
How does the indoor track the Family Life Center mesh with the industrial kitchen with classrooms?
So this is an opportunity for us to use the space in various ways. The track would ideally be above the basketball court so that there can be basketball at the same time, that there can be those who want to walk, exercise, similar to the South Holland gym. The industrial kitchen would have opportunities for certain things like banquets and things of that sort. And the classrooms are opportunities for a senior meeting space. Certainly, one of the things I know is big is esports right now. And so having an esports room where our youth and young adults can gather.
And so is this blueprint the final version, or is it still in the talks?
This is the actual original version pre-pandemic.
So that's not the final version?
It is not. We are still in the implementation.
Any questions? Any questions?
When do you think you'll be back to ask? So you're still looking at architects, right?
That is correct.
So we'll have John start preparing an agreement and consider it and make decisions.
Yeah. We are grateful. I mean, we know the gym will go up. We just want to know what strategic partners would align themselves with Calvary Community Development Corporation. It's not the church, it's our nonprofit that will do this. So we're looking forward to it.
So have you guys secured any other sponsors as of today, or?
No.
Well, I'm gonna introduce some people in the industrial park, and corporations. Does anybody want to send their employees over for recreation?
And I just would like to be clear, this more than dollars for us at Calvary, it's about partnership and having the ability to connect with our village hall and community leaders to make the best use of the space. Calvary is blessed to not have to go after dollars to build the facility. But what's important are healthy and strategic relationships between our corporation and the village and any other business partners out there.
You said you guys are blessed to not have to go after individuals?
I mean, yeah, for us, it's not about the dollars, it's a partnership.
Perfect location. I can walk across the street, too.
Absolutely.
So I have
So going forward,
if I can.
this will give us that humility.
Yes.
Keep us informed as we progress.
Absolutely. We'll certainly keep the village informed of what's happening. And seeing that right now there's no public facility in Glenwood, I think it's a great opportunity for us to have something for our community members here without having to travel to another village. And so going forward, it just seems logical to come before the village hall, share the plans of what's going on Glenwood Dining Road.
So Mayor and John, before we draw up any agreements or contracts, will we have more information or information that we can review before we put a draft into a contract? Because we really don't know. You know, this is early stage, and I know that we're just kind of hypothetically talking, but you know, our residents come before us and they always say, well, put us first, what about the residents? So we haven't really seen any plans or any development of who this project serves, you know, anything in writing or that tells us, you know, what our involvement is or what our involvement isn't.
Well, and I think that at the ground level, is it road?
Road.
At the ground level is the appropriate place for partners to come on. It is the appropriate place to share because as we go further and get deeper into the project, we would already be moving forward, and certainly before we turn over any dirt, we want to make sure that all the partners are at the table so that we would have, there might be a need for a room in the facility that the village say, well, could we use this room for that? Or would that room be available for this?
I think Pastor Trustee's role is probably on the same path that I'm thinking. We would just probably look at more business plan that board could look at to determine or look at what the overall financial projection would look like, what the ask might be, what the final version would look like, and just who these partners are, what the corporation is about, even just some background information about it. While we realize this is the final plan, but I think that all she's just saying is once we get to that recital in terms of an intergovernmental agreement, we just would like to see a business plan, a proposal, if you would, as to what all should transpire, what the mission is, and what their project will look like in totality. So I think that what we fully understand partnership part of it, and why we say this part of you all, about this person with a financial aspect to it. And from listening to Trustee Williams, church is in a very healthy position also with this program, which is fantastic. And I think that speaks volumes of the membership and the church itself, especially in this climate, to have that availability to do that. But partnership and finances for us go hand in hand. And so we just want to have a holistic picture of what the idea looks like. While we realize this is still in its infancy stage, that's just something we like to refer back to once we get to that point.
Absolutely. We look forward to meeting with County Donahue and our team. Deacon Williams actually serves as a trustee for the village, but also a trustee for Calvary. And so he's been a great help.
Pastor Higginbotham.
Yes.
I'm trying to jump in here. I concur with my fellow trustees. So I also want to commend you for carrying the torch. I was at Calvary at 15 years old under the first pastor, Pastor Manson, and also Pastor Bixby. My current pastor was the third pastor, Pastor Moses. I've seen Pastor Duke. I've seen you. I've seen all of that. I love Deacon Blue. Sister Mary, it's good to see you. You watch me grow up. So I can say that I remember when the prayers went down in the ground before the foundation with Pastor Manson. I remember when Calvary was built. As a matter of fact, I have one of the plaques up there. Okay. Yes, I do. I have actually two of them. A little child should lead you. That's one of them. And I have another plaque up there. So I absolutely want to commend you for carrying on the torch, okay, and saying that. And I just want you just to reiterate what my fellow trustees are saying about it's hard to commit to being a partner. Not that we won't. I'm just saying it's hard to commit without seeing something that we need to partner with. Other than
Absolutely. And I think we might be, maybe I have been misunderstood. Today, for myself and our trustees and deacons, we were just introducing and informing the village of what was going on. I did not come with an ask at all. I don't have an ask for you today.
the agenda says something, so.
I did read that.
Ms. Rule, to further answer your question, I would envision that the place to start between the village and church would be to kind of have bullet points, concepts, and then that are comfortable with you guys and the church and their membership. And then from that point, that will probably raise a lot of questions that no one's ever thought about. And we'll go down that road, and ultimately that will bit by bit turn into an agreement, step by step, as to hopefully the satisfaction of the churches as well as the village board.
Any other questions?
This is fantastic.
Yes.
I do have one question. I possibly missed it, but what is your projection for starting this center?
So because we are in the preliminary stages, we want to still look at different architects and contractors, and that can take some time. You know, I've got great faith. If I could, we would do it this year, but it is my prayer that the boring stuff is out of the way this year, and then the fun stuff starts sometime in 2025. If we can get paperwork done, contractors selected, architect firms identified, partnerships in place, I foresee us certainly turning some dirt over in 2025. Absolutely.
Any other questions? Thank you very much for coming, Pastor.
All right. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Somebody like to make a motion to table?
So moved.
Trustee Taylor, trustee Roll. Deputy Clerk Williamson, call the roll.
Trustee Brown.
Yes.
Trustee Clark. Trustee Lynch. Trustee Roll. Trustee Taylor. Trustee Williams.
Attorneys in Burke, John Donnie.
Thank you, Mayor. One item. The village has one bond issue. It's 2010A bonds. And every year we have, since the beginning of this bond issue in 2010, we have passed an ordinance which will abate a portion of the tax that was levied at the time this bond issue was made in the year 2010. So that's what this does. The amount that's being abated here, and what abatement is, because people may not always be aware, it's a fancy government term where basically you're going to be taxed. If passing this ordinance, you're going to be taxed in total of $729,600 less than you would be if this ordinance was not passed. That's ultimately the nuts and bolts of it for everybody.
Would somebody like to make a motion for the approval of the ordinance partially abating the 2023 tax levy for the taxable general obligation bonds, Series 2010A, previously issued by the village of Glenwood?
So moved.
Trustee Williams, do we have a second?
Second.
Trustee Clark, any questions? Okay.
So, your mic every year this kind of rings me for quite a few questions. So, the first of you, John, for the 2011 through the 2014 tax period, those bonds are still remaining. So why haven't we paid those off yet?
Which ones? These are
The first five.
yeah.
And we had three different bond issues in 2010. It's a 2010A, a 2010B, and a 2010C. The 2010B bonds were paid off in 2015 with tax fees in 2014 was the final payment. The 2010C bonds were paid off, and these, the 2010B and the 2010C were refinancing existing debt the village had.
The 2010B and 2010C.
Right. They were refinancing of the existing debt the village already had. And what we did is, like if you refinance your mortgage, you get a lower interest rate, so you save money. So that was the purpose of the 2010B and the 2010C, were to refinance existing debt, which ultimately resulted in a savings to the village because interest rates were more favorable, so we're paying less interest on the money as we pay these bonds off.
So the 2010B and C, is there a maturity date on those two?
They were already paid off. The C was paid off in 2021, and the 2010B was paid off in 2015.
So was the 2010C, was that the builder bond?
You mean the Build America bond? No, the 2010A is the Build America bond. That's the one we're still. One of the, I don't remember which one was which, but one of these were for refinancing the village's debt for purchasing Glenwood many years ago. And the other bond was for refinancing the debt the village had for the building up of this building.
So 2010A is the only remaining of those five that was still.
Right, only the 2010A remains, still has an amount owed on it.
And that's the Build America bond.
Yeah, it's a Build America bond.
Okay. So
What that means is the federal government subsidizes a portion of the interest that the village pays for that debt, in the amount of, it's either 30 or 35%. So every year, we're supposed to get a check for that amount of the interest due from the federal government, and that's not handled by me. I believe that's handled by our paying agent, bank.
So do we know today what we've gotten from that 2010A
Yeah, we should get
reimbursement?
We should get that every year.
Does anybody know? The 2010A reimbursement that we get every year?
Yes. In 2022 was about $240,000.
And so that reimbursement, what we do, where's that allocated to? Where was that allocated?
I believe it's in the debt service fund. It's like an offset to your interest that you pay. So you pay the full amount of interest, and then they rebate you interest back.
Okay, so is the amount that's current, that we owe for the 2010 bond, is that added into the 2023 amount, or are those two separate amounts? So for the 2010 bond, what we owe on that, is that combined with what we owe is that combined in this abatement, this amount that we're abating?
Yeah, the total bond, if we did nothing, the total amount the village would have to pay in 2024, this year, would be $1,819,639.50. With the abatement of $729,600, the total amount that will be imposed upon the taxpayers will be less. It will be $1,090,039.50. So it's a savings of the amount abated, which is $729,600.
So what is the end of life for this particular abatement? What's the maturity date, if you will? I don't like that word.
Well, the abatement will happen right away because the village will not charge that amount to the amount of $729,600 to protect. Happens right away.
So there is no maturity date then?
No, all these bonds have various maturity dates, and they're paid off as the bonds are paid off. But the abatement is just something that when we tell the county, well, the time we issued these bonds in 2010, the county has a document bond order which says in 2024, Glenwood, you have to tax for Glenwood's ability to pay these bonds off for the $1,800,000. But now with the abatement, we will file this ordinance with the county, and that amount that they need to tax our citizens will go down from 1.8 million down to a little over 1 million.
And so if when this year's abatement reaches its maturity date, and if we have not completed the payments at that time, then what happens?
You don't want to default on the bond. The village will pay the whole amount of the bond. So we've never defaulted on the bond. We have a former municipality. We have plenty of ability to raise money if something unusual were to happen, but it will not be defaulted on, and it will be fully paid.
Can I add something?
Sure.
So Cook County, this is an annual requirement. So every period you have to file an abatement. So it's just a one year look back. So it's saying
It's a 1 year.
look back or look forward, saying you have enough money in other revenue sources to pay for this bond. Where the county like
Let me ask you. I'm glad you mentioned that because that's really my next question. What are we looking at to say we have enough money to pay this bond?
when we did the budget, we said we had other revenue sources to help pay for this bond, so we don't have to levy taxes for this particular bond to pay principal and interest.
So if We kept taxes flat, we didn't levy taxes.
And our intergovernmental taxes, we identified those as significantly higher than in the prior year, so we could use those taxes to help pay off this debt.
And so we're approving to partially abate the taxes. Why, what part is considered partial?
I have to go back to the budget document.
It's, what the partial means,
What the partial means is that if we don't pass this ordinance, the county will charge our taxpayers with $1,818,639.50. With the partial abatement, that means we're taking away a portion of that the village is going to pay from other sources, so it does not need to levy it against the taxpayers. And that amount is $729,600. It's a partial because it's a portion of the amount. So when we reduce to 1.8 million by the 729,000, we get the $1,998,000 ultimate amount that would be taxed to the village residents. And I should note that's the same as we did.
But we went up, not significantly, but there was an increase.
Last year, to get to that number, last year our abatement was $716,000. This year we had to abate a little more, $13,000 more. If I'm doing the math right on the fly, we get to $729,600. They took out a bond, they back, they just put stuff in the future.
I guess so. Digesting this one, and it's just one thing for me. Two, I guess I'm noticing over the year, the abatement amount consistently increases. And I guess my overall concern, John, is while I understand that based on the budget, we have the money to cover it, but with the consistent increase,
Yeah, the total amount due on the bond, at the time this was done in 2010, it was done under a prior administration and prior mayor, and I believe their thought process was they wanted the total amount due on the bond each year to increase by about 50%. So they work with Loop Capital, which is a very well-known financial firm here in Chicago, and that's what they did. And so that's why the total amounts due on the bonds each year go up to that amount. Although this year it's a lot less. This year it's only about $13,000.
so am I also correct in saying this relates directly to property tax, but not to the bills, correct?
It relates to both. I mean, the abatement will ultimately reduce the taxes our taxpayers need to pay that they otherwise would pay if we did not pass this. And also, the bond is a big part of the village's credit rating. And if I remember correctly, Brian may be correct, we're still a Moody's A2, I believe?
Right.
Which I think is the same rating, very good rating, the same rating that the county is.
So with based on the budget, based on where we are currently with this year's abatement amount, even next year, our match is going to be even higher. We're saying that with a summary of all of our accounts, we can afford to pay this.
Yeah, in addition, I pulled up the budget. There are transfers in for this bond series. I don't know what exactly you guys spent the money on, but they identified it back then that MFT fund is going to contribute $100,000, water and sewer fund is going to contribute $200,000, and Glenwood is going to contribute $100,000. So back when you guys created this funding mechanism, you said you had other revenue sources where the county automatically puts you in for principal interest for the full amount, but you spent the money on other funds, so you're using those other funds to pay off the principal and interest, and that's what we're partially doing.
So just based off of the four that you mentioned, there's a shortfall of the 729,000. So there's 100+ thousand from MFT, 200,000 from the golf course, and I forget the other two that you mentioned.
Glenwood was 100.
Glenwood, so how do we make up the shortfall then?
Shortfall where?
Of the 729 that's being abated? Because those projected revenues are what's expected to cover that abatement, correct?
So then you levy for the remaining amount of principal and interest. So that $400,000 would be applied to principal and interest. The remaining portion is ready to go out for tax levy.
But we haven't been levying, we've remained flat with our levy.
Correct. It's included in your levy. In your tax and agency report that we did back in December.
Right.
I put that number in.
Any other questions? Would like to make a motion for an ordinance partially abating the 2023 tax levy for taxable general obligation bonds series 2010A previously issued by the village of Glenwood. Somebody like to make a motion. We have a first and a second, right? No, we haven't. So, Trustee Williams, we have a second. Trustee Clark, any additional questions? If we could call Williamson, call the roll.
Trustee Brown?
Yes.
Trustee Clark?
Yes.
Trustee Lynch?
I'm going to abstain solely because I'm not the leader on the process. So I'm going to.
Trustee Rowe?
Yes.
Trustee Taylor? Yes. Trustee Williams?
Aye.
Village, are you, got anything else?
No, that's it, Mayor, thank you.
Village Administrator Mitchell.
Good evening, Mayor, residents, and guests this evening. A couple things. We're actually planning on moving for a little while tonight, so we'll kind of keep things moving. I know one request was that we get the electronic sign out in the front taken care of. That was installed today, so we will start programming that so we're able to get information out to the residents and non-residents of the community. The first item I have up for approval tonight is the engagement with Miller and Cooper, and this is actually just to update it. As you all know, Miller has been working with us with finances for the past year, and this is just to upgrade their agreement to go until December of 2024. With that said, tonight from Miller is John Jez, in case the board has any questions or would like to ask.
You want to come up here?
Yes, absolutely. Just so I really have.
Just a general overview of what the contract includes.
So the engagement letter is more or less identifying the scope of our service. We're not, it doesn't limit us necessarily to that, but it really outlines the basics of what we're going to do. So it started off last year based on the bank reconciliations. That was pretty much limited to that. And then as the year went on, we then started doing AP and AR work to help support. All this engagement letter is saying is that you're engaging us to perform these services, and it's very generic. It covers a full year in the sense that we can do work on that particular tax year or that fiscal year. It doesn't mean that we're going to be doing it that long. It's not saying we have to. It's not saying anything of that nature. So it's really just saying you're authorizing us to do this work during that time.
So I'd like to make a motion and we'll ask questions.
I have a question.
We're going to have a motion in a second, and then we'll ask questions. So I'd like to make a motion for approval to enter into an engagement letter with Miller, Cooper and Company, LTD. So, Trustee Lynch, we have a second.
Second. No, I can ask the question.
Oh, yeah, go ahead. Trustee Brown, second.
So I'm only 1 month in. So here's my question. Well, some of the verbiage in here, I know it's just generic. It says here, we may at our sole discretion use third-party service providers, including service providers that may be located outside of the United States, to assist us in providing professional services to you. Okay, but here, In such circumstances, it may be necessary for us to disclose personal information or confidential information to them. Also in here, it says that you may use a service outside the United States, like a third party outside the United States. So when you say that, what countries are you talking about? That may, or are you referring to?
So, first of all, the engagement letter is intended to cover a wide breadth of services that would be offered, from tax, audit, IT services, etc. My department, which is the Planning County Services, as an example, we have a subsidiary in, I don't know if I'll call it a subsidiary or a third-party relationship with a company out of the Philippines. So as a savings to some of our clients, if they're doing work like AP and AR work and they're able to do it remotely overseas, we're able to use that third party as helping us or helping the client perform the services. We do have very strict restrictions on the amount of data that can be shared. So for example, bank data does not go overseas. Payroll is not processed by overseas. When somebody does engage us for that. So we are very strict on what information goes where and how it's protected.
Well, all our information is public anyway.
What's that?
All our information is public anyway.
It's public.
People can see our numbers and everything.
Yeah, I'm talking about private information in terms of somebody's social security number or how much they get paid. That's the private information. Not necessarily in this environment. It's different than a normal environment.
The personal part.
What's that?
The personal part is not shown.
Correct.
The other is open to the public.
Well, in your situation, yes. In many of our other clients, they're private companies. We don't share anything other than we work with them. They can share with whomever they want. Yeah. Same thing here. I don't run around and say anything about any of the work or anything I'm doing. I'm just helping do the work that I'm doing, and it's up to everybody here to, just share that.
Any additional questions?
I have some. Okay. So I see a lot, just out of the 10 services that we provide, everything is clearly accompanied by the word assistance. I see that a lot. And so, I'll be honest with you, had some strong concerns with the assistance that was provided primarily up to today, with a lot of the information or lack thereof, and the person available to provide those questions or their availability in Village Hall to do this. So when we say assistance, can you tell us what does that look like? Would there be one individual responsible for providing this? How often? And are they will they be generating this information, or will they be providing staff person here direction on how to do that?
It can be a combination. So as an example, on the current AP side of things, the language in the APC provides assistance. We're here to help the village facilitate their AP processes. So with the absence of somebody in the AP role, we brought, under my direction, somebody on to help enter all the invoices and cut the checks. That's what the assistance that we provided in that area was.
So how much are we paying the individual distributor?
I don't have any engagement for you. I think it's approximately $150
an hour.
Yes.
So we're paying $150 an hour for data, essentially.
Essentially.
Madam Treasurer, we're paying $150 an hour for data.
So trustee, if I can jump in, part of this is that we didn't have the skill set. Since then, Roy Cooper has developed our skill set, so a lot of that is going to go away. So, for example, on some of this AP stuff, Carolyn is going to be taking care of that stuff so that Ashley can get freed up to do other things at more of a rate that would be conducive to the 150.
So but I know there was a lot of concern with the reports, factor of being able to get information, having someone here to provide that information. But then also, I'll be honest, I'm obviously on
Lynch, if I can add to, Administrator Mitchell's point, is that in moving forward, there was a lot to catch up. So I think we're in a much better place. And to John's point in saying it doesn't mean that that would be the duration of the actual contract, but the services are still needed because you still don't have the staffing capacity. And so, but we are in a much better place there, and we're hoping to be able to cut some of those services out. So the contract that you have before you is not a cut in stone for that. So when it gets to the point where if you need the services you don't, you can cut down on some of those services.
After this contract ends.
Then I was going to say that while you're working through the contract, right, that we're hoping with village administrator said that because you're now cross-training the staff, some of those responsibilities that Ashley was doing was taken away from what she was originally contracted to. So we're going to remove those things from her plate.
I'll specific when, like what
So,
the plan look like?
Trustee Lynch, so another thing too is that this is only a weekly service, 4 hours for the 1 day.
Well, it's approximately 2 days a week.
2 days a week. So it's not 8 hours a day, 5 days a week.
That's correct. But at $150 an hour, and we have difficulty getting reports, there's some, whatever the roadblocks are to get the request answered in the time. And to not have those answers at $150 an hour for me is concerning. Whether it's 4 hours or 12 hours, I want to be sure that the needs are being met for that amount. And so if we're going to eliminate some of those responsibilities from Ashley, then now what will be the expectation from Ashley from them? What are they going to be presenting outside of those removed responsibilities?
I think you have a valid concern, and for specifics regarding a time frame, I would say, give it another 4 or 5 months and let's see what happened. And the reason that I say that is because if you cross-train it, you need to test it out. And as we're looking to work through some of the previous things that has been resolved, I was at least hoping that we're working with Adam, that we've been talking about at least trying to get some reports ran as probably by the end of March 1st, second board meeting of April, and so that would give a more telltale sign as to where you're at, and what has been actually taken off of Ashley's plate.
4 or 5 months.
Yeah, and you can, because it's really like no guarantee, depending on,
So this is our second year, this is our second year, right?
I think March was the original, March of last year, approximately.
Any additional questions? Deputy Clerk Williams, call roll.
Trustee Brown? Yes. Trustee Clark?
Yes.
Trustee Lynch?
No.
Trustee Roll?
Yes.
Trustee Taylor?
Yes.
Trustee Williams?
Okay, the second item we have for approval tonight, we have Woodley is back with us again for the audit for the year ending April 30, 22. This evening I have Sarah McKenna here from Woodley in case the board has any questions. One thing we've been doing is kind of ramping up, of course, with Adam and Talita's assistants, trying to get prepared for the audit and be more prepared than we were last year, which is where we ended up with quite a few additional costs. So, Sarah, if the board has any questions?
Well, let's get a motion and a second and a vote. discussion. I would like to make a motion for the approval to enter into a contract with Whitley for purpose of year ending April 30, 2022 audit services. Trustee Roll, Trustee Taylor. Hey, you're up.
All right, I'll just kind of briefly highlight some things noted in the engagement letter and move on to clean up on you. So the fees for the audit would be around $66,000, with an additional $4,000 for the Yellow Book audit procedures. And the Yellow Book audit procedures are added on if you receive or spend over $500,000 of state and federal funds. And I believe that is the case. We did a Yellow Book audit for the village for the 21 audit as well. And then there's also a $2,500 cost related to, call it CIPHER for short. It's a consolidated year-end financial report that is required by the Illinois data website or state compliance. So that's a separate kind of audit that we have to do for that online report that you guys have to submit. And then in addition to that, there would be any expenses, out-of-pocket expenses that would be billed separately for reimbursement. And so the audit, I just want to flip back, the audit includes where we would draft your financial statements, we prepare the Illinois Comptroller's annual financial report for you, which is an online report, and then we also prepare the village's TIF district report for compliance as well with the state.
Is there any questions?
Mayor, we did not leave out to be first. We did not. Actually, Sarah. From last year's audit report, obviously there was some key components that were suggested to the board to changes that kind of been consistent over the years in terms of our record keeping processes, things like that. With any of those recommendations from the finance committee, do you guys report that to the state at all, or?
So yes and no. So we issue a letter that accompanies our audit report, and in the letter we would have if we found any internal control deficiencies in the village. And so we don't report that to the state directly. We have to upload the audit report for the Illinois Comptroller. But there are maybe instances where there are requests for that letter. Brian, you would probably get those if there were any. I don't know if there was any state agencies that requested that or not.
And I'm sorry, you mentioned that. When will we start the exploratory for the audit?
We would start, we're already start preliminary work now, actually. So if we would start the process of our planning forums, we do some interviews, we do internal control, understanding.
And your budget has to be completed, right?
Say that again?
Your budget needs to be completed.
Well, this is for the 22 audit, so I don't know, I would imagine the budget is completed for that.
Any other questions? Deputy Clerk Williamson, call roll.
Trustee Williams.
Aye.
Trustee Taylor.
Yes.
Trustee Roll.
Yes.
Trustee Lynch.
Yes.
Trustee Clark.
Yes.
Trustee Brown. Yes.
Sarah, thank you very much for coming. Next time we'll be farther up on the agenda. Department reports, police, Chief Petty Court.
Thank you, Mayor, Board of Trustees, President Fisk. Tonight I'm seeking request to renew our Active Tech LLC Master Software Licensing Agreement. This is the local adjudication software management system used by the Houston Building Department for 2 years at the following cost. The monthly license fee, adjudication violation hearing module, until December 31st, 2024, $13.75. Year 2, January 1st, 2025 to December
master software licensing agreement.
So moved.
Trustee Lynch, trustee Taylor. Where's he? Come on up and we'll just explain what it is.
My name is Brandon Knox, I'm from Backwards Tech. We're locally housed here in Itasca, Illinois. We bought your current software provider, MSI, back in 2020. We've been supporting that since then, and we actually sent out a letter mid last year explaining that we were going to be sunsetting the product and actually upgrading you to a new software solution that we were then providing to other communities for the past 20 years. So this is just a simple migration to move you on to a new platform. It's going to be a little easier for them to adjudicate all your tickets, and we're going to work with PD as well as the code department as well.
Is there any questions?
So, what's the anticipated any recurring licensing fees associated with this, or?
So yes, there is a monthly licensing fee that you guys currently pay at the rate of $13.75, and that's actually going to be held all the way through the end of this year, and then it'll increase in the next year to $1,500 per month. Dagger offers more software solution that'll actually make things a little easier for you guys, and we're actually a more heavily secure network solution because we are web-based, and then we also work in Microsoft Azure Government Cloud, which is for CIA, FBI, secure their data. So we're a higher secure system than the previous one.
Any other questions? Chief Walsh, on the building side, do you have anything to?
No, I was just gonna say, as an addition to that, there's been a lot of migration over, and this should become more usable in our courts when the adjudicator is here. One issue we have on the building side is the adjudicator always wants to see pictures. We're gonna be able to upload that picture from the inspector direct, and the adjudicator will have it there. I think that data transfer, they guarantee if they do it, it's all included, so it is where we need to go.
Any other questions?
Quick questions. So the first year is $13.75 per month, and then the second year is $1,500 per month. Inflation?
Like I explained, so the system that you guys currently have right now, you're paying the same amount, so we're gonna do that slow. It's not inflation. The MSI, which is the old product, that's what they would call like thick client media. It's like an app-based, it's like all loaded on or a web-based system, and we're Azure Government Cloud storage. So it's a little bit more expensive to host that, but it's much more secure with your data. We are in the world of cyber, and people want to get at data. Azure Government Cloud secures that data for us so that you guys don't get hacked, and that's why that goes up.
Speaking of that, so let me just ask you this question, maybe a little off subject. So how does this protect, so I'm at the hospital today, we saw it on the news. Warrior Children's Hospital is under cyber attack. It's been about a month. Okay. And it's my, guess, kind of sort of talk to one of the doctors that whomever is hacking this is asking for a ransom. And that's how that thing goes sometimes.
Yeah, like phishing expeditions, things of that nature. So this system is kind of bogus to that because it doesn't have any like email phishing capabilities or anything like that. It can contact users at any level. We have two-way authentication as well as single sign-on authentications, so that make sure that the users that are using it, it is then ultimately using the system. They won't be able to get into it. And they will not be able to use your data in the back end either. So there's no phishing expeditions that would be happening. So no emails or anything connected to the system.
Okay.
Because this software sheet does not connect to any village platform, right? This is completely isolated from.
It will not be connected, no, it's not connected to any third parties at this point. If you wanted to eventually, maybe you can, but that is in the agreement says that, obviously we would have a discussion about that, and that's at your discretion now.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Every clerk Williams to call roll.
Trustee Brown? Yes. Trustee Clark?
Yes.
Trustee Lynch?
Yes.
Trustee Roll? Trustee Taylor? Trustee Williams?
Thanks for coming. Fire building, Chief Welch.
Yes, Your Honor, in your packet tonight, you have all the data and information. I'm seeking approval to have one of our 2 ambulances rehabilitated. We did purchase these 2 ambulances back in 2022, used from AMR, and we paid $10,000 per ambulance. They've had a rough life since we've had them. They're averaging, right now, each one of them run about 900 calls a year. Because out of our 2,400 calls last year, approximately 1,800, a little over 1,800 were EMS runs. And I believe if you check your monthly reports, we're hitting about 70% of those are ALS transports. So without St. James being next door, we're running either to Francisco and Munster a lot, South Suburban and Ingalls, and sometimes Olympia Field. So they're getting a lot of wear and tear. I did have these budgeted, and some time ago we talked briefly about it, that the cost of this was about $150,000, and just not to bore you because you have it all in your packet, but basically what they do is they lift the patient care box off the back of the cabin chassis, they completely refurbish that box, sandblast it, take it down, all new upholstery, all new lighting, all the mechanicals are done in that, our oxygen system, our suction system, our cotton mounting devices, everything. And then they put it on this new chassis. The problem has been that we've seen the industry has seen a steady increase, and we were unable to get qualified for one of the chassis when it would have been approximately $150,000. And now that same conversion at that estimate came in at $195,434. And I'm recommending to go with those Sage Industries. There are a couple other refurbished people, but none of them can provide the warranty because they are not the manufacturer of the box. In the ambulance industry, you might say, well, why do we need those kinds of boxes? When ambulances first came out, well, years ago when ambulances came out, they were Cadillac because you had to ride to the hospital in style. We had no room for the medics to work. So we went to van style and went to this style. The advantage to this style is exactly what I'm before you here tonight, is that we can take advantage of a usable piece of metal and refurbish it, put it on a new chassis. And that's what's before you tonight. The advantage of going with the Osage product is that you get that 3-year bumper-to-bumper warranty. We also have to have IDPH annual inspection certification. This will get us a new 10-year certificate and help us to provide a good service to the residents. I think I encapsulated, one dilemma I'm having as we sit here tonight, this was predicated on applying this to ambulance 20, which is a 2008 with 162,342 miles. That had a major motor repair. It's a diesel motor. It's unfortunately on what's called an E-series or a van style cab. And anytime you do anything with that thing, you almost have to disassemble the majority of the cab to get to the motor. So it was a costly motor repair at about $11,000 about a year ago. And unfortunately, in the last few days, we've started to have some transmission issues on ambulance 21, which is a 2007 with 254,000 miles. Either way, both ambulances would be the same cost. They're identical, but we're also predicating not going with a diesel motor. The industry now has swung back, and with all the improvements, the recommendation is for a gasoline motor, which will be much more cost-effective in maintenance. I think I covered everything. If we need the gentleman can get on the phone. He's in Ohio right now. But I'll take any questions if you like, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, let's get a first and a second, and we'll have a discussion. I'd like to make a motion for the approval of a contract with Osage Industries Inc. for the rehabilitation of ambulance 20 in the amount of $195,434. Trustee Roll and Trustee Clark. Okay, any questions?
Trustee Brown.
Oh, Trustee Brown, you made a motion?
I did.
Okay. I'll say Trustee Roll and Trustee Brown. Any additional questions for the chief?
Chief, I have a few questions.
Yeah.
So here, we asked for the
chassis is 195,000, right?
Not to exceed.
Not to exceed 195,000. And so you said that the ambulance that was purchased around the same time is going to require the same mechanical work in the near future, right?
The predication is for one in this budget, coming budget year, and one the following. So we spread that cost out.
And so your hope is that the revenue generated by the GMAC grant will, in some respect, absorb the cost, at least for the first chassis repair.
Yeah, remembering that those collections or billings just started January 1 of this year, so that $229,795 would be the projection from our company, our billing company, on the projected revenues based on the same amount of billing from 2023.
So, and this GMAC is a grant that we have to apply for, it's selected, right?
No, it is not a grant, but we do have to apply for it. It's a funding mechanism, whereas the federal government reimburses the state of Illinois for these expenses. For years and years, this money was reimbursed to the state of Illinois for ambulance transport by the local fire departments when the funding of the when the Medicare and Medicaid funding, this was the stopgap between Medicare and Medicaid funding. But for years and years, this money went to the state of Illinois, and the state of Illinois kept it all. Several years ago, the fire chief from Naperville, his name escapes me right now, led the challenge to get GEMT in the state of Illinois, and other states are following suit now. So what happens is the state of Illinois takes all that billing information, bills the federal government, receives that money, and wasn't distributing it. There's a separate funding mechanism to make the private ambulance companies whole. This is to make municipal ambulance services whole or closer to whole.
So that 229,000 that is projected, now, can we recoup all of that amount, or is that up to 229,000 that can be recouped?
That's the estimate on what we'll get. I'm hoping it's more than that. But remember, as a precautionary tale here, and Fad was here to tell you, the village of Glenwood, from the state of Illinois, would actually receive double that amount. So that's 459, 458, would receive double that amount. And then the village of Glenwood has to reimburse half of it back to the state. So this 229 is our 50% share of that GEMT funding. Why they send in the whole amount and send it back is something for a different day of discussion, but it's the way the state can justify keeping a portion of those funds.
So the portion we would have to send back would be from the complete total that they would send us for the funding.
Correct, and Adam already understands that because in his other life, he does that same thing. So if the village, at the end of 2024, the projection is that the village would receive about $459,000, of which we would be returning 50%. And this number is our 50% keep.
And so it's not a grant.
It is not.
It is not a grant. And so maintaining these ambulances are prerequisites for us to be able to get that funding.
Yes, you must, in order, and that's one reason why we changed the contract and purchased these ambulances at a low price with AMR. We could not lease ambulances anymore. In order to get full benefit of the GEMT, the municipality must own the ambulance. The amount of money that we receive is predicated on the cost of doing business. There's a whole formulation that our billing company puts together. So this type of money, when we're spending $195, will go into the 2025 calculation of how much it costs us to run an ambulance call.
So then so this is to be budgeted for 2025. So then
this would be in the current budget we're working on, this
2024. 2024.
Yeah, I lost track, but yes.
So what account are you proposing that the repairs are paid out of?
The fire ambulance reimbursement fund that currently has a balance of $356,443.89, and I would hope it has more in it by the time we have to pay the bill. Because the predication here is, and that's one thing I can add, this could be 15 to 18 months on delivery of this chassis. That's the way the industry is right now. But I did get notice on Monday from Mark Clemens, the dealer, that they had, he wasn't sure yet because there wasn't final paperwork, but a municipality backed out on a chassis that they earmarked 16 months ago. It will be arriving in November, and he slotted us for that, which would also be a savings, in his words, approximately $20,000 off of that 195, because we'll have a chassis ready-made now, as opposed to taking the manufacturer's increase for the next model year.
So that fund balance of 356, is that a rolling number or an actual number?
That's an actual number from the bank statement.
So none of that is being absorbed by the firehouse review?
No, that's the TIF money.
Any other questions? Clerk Williamson, call roll.
Trustee Brown.
Yes.
Trustee Clark.
Yes.
Trustee Lynch.
Yes.
Trustee Roll.
Yes.
Trustee Taylor.
Yes.
Trustee Williams.
Is there any new business? Any old business?
I just have a question. Chief Walsh, one of the questions. So where you with staffing levels? I know that payroll has been a little high in fire. And I know that you guys are still testing, aren't you?
The Fire and Police Commission is still in the process of testing. So I believe what you're referring to is some of the part-time numbers are a little high, but we also have $240,000 budgeted full-time salary of those 3 positions. It hasn't been used now for 27 months. So in totality, the bottom line, we're not anywhere near over. But the current staffing is we're short 1 contract medic, not short an EMT, and we haven't filled the 3 captain spot or shift officer spots as of now. But that testing is in process, and I believe the 2 candidates are at back.
So the candidates that's in the pipeline now, are they purpose to fill those spots? Or are these?
If they get through the commission's testing process, yeah.
So they would be filling the captain spots, that's vacant, the officer spots?
Correct.
Are they laterals, or are they?
No, these are, if you remember back when we did that, they're entry-level mid-management, following the model of Flossmoor. I'm not sure how else we use it, we modeled it after the Flossmoor model. But there has been a struggle getting the candidates. We're now, for the 3 positions, we're now at 2 candidates that have progressed through the written and practical exam and are at the background phase.
Thank you, sir. Any other old business? Okay. Go ahead, Trustee Clark.
Is there any movement on the 6 nights?
What?
6 nights.
Oh, we're looking into it. Trustee Clark suggests we get more microphones here.
Oh, okay.
So we need, how many did you want? 6?
No, they need them over there, because all of us sharing the same journey.
Yeah, so we need 4 of these.
Like you said, back when I was coughing.
No, I brought that up last month.
Yeah. So Brian, we could do so all 3 people would have
Okay.
So, I'm sorry, Mayor, I can just back up just a little bit. I meant to mention it under new business, and so, with the support behind the recognition of African American History Month, even in those discussions, it was brought up that we need to create a special events committee. And I think I and trustees certainly agree with that conception. We would recommend it just be an ad hoc committee, that residents who have a desire to join would just reached out to the village, expressed their interest, as we want to get these celebrations or calendar days, if you will, for not only just cultural backgrounds, but a litany of things. So if forthcoming meetings, we can start having a conversation around communicating and marketing, residents' participation, to try to get some consistent events happening, again, just not just for cultural events, but just calendar events and things like that that deserves to be highlighted.
Very good. Very good. So we will put something together. Any other questions? Okay, if everybody remembers that our Black History Month celebration event is this Saturday, the 24th at 10:30 a.m., so it could come out. Somebody like to make a motion to adjourn? So moved. Trustee Lynch, any questions? Deputy Clerk Williams, you call roll.
Trustee Brown.
Yep.
Trustee Clark.
Yes.
Trustee Lynch.
Yes.
Trustee Roll. Trustee Taylor. Trustee Williams.
Send an email?